Right now in Philadelphia, there are no easy answers, and that's exactly where this Eagles offseason begins. Inside the NovaCare complex, Executive Vice President and General Manager Howie Roseman and head coach Nick Sirianni made one thing very clear when they spoke to the media. This team is not standing still, and it's not satisfied with where it finished. There is real work ahead if the Eagles are going to climb back to the top of the NFL, and both men are embracing that challenge with an open mind and a sense of urgency about the future of this football team. The first real move of the offseason is already on the board. Kevin Patullo will not return as the offensive coordinator. That decision signals that the Eagles believe evolution on offense is necessary. Nick Sirianni didn't frame it as panic, and he didn't frame it as blame, but as growth. His mindset is that the offense has to continue to evolve, and the organization has to do what's best for the football team in the hiring process. Sirianni made it clear that there are many different ways to be successful on offense, and now the Eagles are focused on finding the person who best fits what Philadelphia wants to become moving forward. Beyond that change, there were no flashy announcements, no sudden names dropped, and no rushed promises. And honestly, that's how the Eagles prefer to operate. Sirianni explained that the goal is to cast a wide net, interview strong candidates, and identify the best possible fit for the Philadelphia Eagles, not just a quick fix. It's about process, not headlines. It's about patience paired with purpose. For Howie Roseman, the message was about balance. There is an urgency to win right now, but also a responsibility to build for the future. That has always been the Eagles' identity under Roseman. The results speak for themselves. 8 playoff trips, 3 Super Bowl appearances, and 2 Lombardi trophies sitting in the NovaCare complex over the last 9 seasons. That kind of success doesn't happen by accident. It comes from constantly evaluating, adjusting, and refusing to get comfortable. And culture plays a massive role in all of this. Inside the building, the mindset is humility and accountability. Everyone looks in the mirror and asks, "What can I do better to win?" The Eagles believe self-correction is the first rule of business. Instead of pointing fingers, the organization starts by pointing inward. That's the foundation of how they plan to attack this offseason. If anyone was expecting instant answers right after the season ended, that's not how Philadelphia works. One season after winning Super Bowl 59, the Eagles went through a roller coaster. They finished 11-7, captured the NFC East title, but saw their playoff run end earlier than anyone in the building wanted. Roseman admitted the disappointment clearly, saying they would much rather still be playing football right now. But with that disappointment comes a promise. They are going to do whatever it takes to get better. Roseman has always said that the offseason sets the tone for everything that follows.
That responsibility is heavy, and he knows it. The Eagles would love to keep every one of their unrestricted free agents, players who helped win a lot of football games, including a Super Bowl. But that's not realistic in the NFL. Winning brings roster turnover. That means succession planning matters, asset management matters, and every decision becomes critical. That's exactly where the Eagles find themselves now, standing at the start of an offseason full of opportunity. Roseman didn't sugarcoat how he feels about the result of the season. He said flat out that if it doesn't end with confetti falling, then it's not good enough. He understands the league, that you don't go to the Super Bowl every year, but his mindset never changes. Every offseason, the goal is to do whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl. And when the team falls short, he looks at himself first, searching for what he could have done differently and how he can improve the organization. That mindset is what defines where the Eagles are right now. No excuses. No celebration of just making the playoffs. No comfort in division titles alone. The mission is to make the Eagles a better team in 2026, decision by decision, hire by hire, correction by correction. This is only the beginning of the story for Philadelphia's offseason, and the direction they choose now will shape everything that comes next. So what do you think about the Eagles moving on from Kevin Patullo and the way Roseman and Sirianni are approaching this offseason? And from that mindset, everything the Eagles do next has to connect back to one central idea: getting uncomfortable with where they are. Philadelphia isn't entering this offseason looking to patch holes quietly. They're entering it questioning structure, direction, and identity, especially on offense. Moving on from Kevin Patullo isn't just about a name change on a business card. It's a statement that the current version of the offense didn't reach the standard inside the building. Nick Sirianni talked about evolution, and that word matters. It tells you the Eagles aren't searching for a copy of what they already had, but for something that can push the unit forward in a league that changes every season. When Sirianni says there are many ways to be successful on offense, he's opening the door to creativity, adaptability, and fit. The Eagles aren't hunting headlines, they're hunting compatibility. The next offensive coordinator has to help this team grow, not just repeat what's been done before. That process takes time, and that's why no names were rushed out. The organization wants the right guy, not the fast guy. They want someone who understands what Philadelphia football demands, someone who can maximize the talent already in the building and also prepare the offense for what the NFL is becoming, not what it was last year. At the same time, Howie Roseman's urgency to win right now changes how every meeting feels inside the NovaCare complex. This isn't a rebuilding mindset. This is a reloading mindset. The Eagles are used to competing for championships, and when you've tasted that level of success, anything short feels unfinished. Roseman balances two pressures at once, staying aggressive enough to contend immediately while also protecting the future of the roster. That's not easy, especially when success creates turnover. He was honest about it. The Eagles would love to keep every unrestricted free agent who helped them win games and helped them lift a Lombardi trophy, but that's not how the NFL works. Winning makes players expensive. Winning forces tough decisions, and winning demands that the organization already has a line of succession in place. That's why asset usage becomes critical. Draft capital, contracts, development, and timing all collide in moments like this. The Eagles aren't just choosing players, they're choosing directions. What stands out most is how Roseman talks about failure, not in dramatic terms, but in accountability. If confetti isn't falling, then it isn't good enough. That tells you the standard in Philadelphia isn't comfort, it's championships. Even knowing that you can't reach the Super Bowl every year, he still walks into every offseason believing they can. And when they don't, he looks inward before anything else. That attitude flows through the entire organization, from the front office down to the locker room. And that's where culture becomes more than a word. The Eagles believe improvement starts with self-evaluation. Everyone asking what they can do better to win. Not what the league did. Not what opponents did. Not what luck did. What they did. That's how you stay competitive in a league designed for parity. That's how you avoid repeating mistakes. That's how you turn disappointment into fuel. After a season that included an NFC East title, an 11-7 record, and an early playoff exit, the emotional tone inside the building is clear. Gratitude for success, frustration for the ending, and hunger for more. Roseman admitted they're disappointed they're not still playing. That's important, because it shows this team isn't satisfied with being relevant. They want to be dangerous in January, not just present. So now the offseason becomes the battlefield. Coaching decisions, roster turnover, and internal evaluations all start stacking up. The move at offensive coordinator is just the first public signal that change is coming. Not reckless change, but intentional change. Philadelphia is stepping into an offseason of opportunity, where every decision is meant to make the Eagles better in 2026, stronger, smarter, and harder to stop. This isn't about panic. It's about precision. It's about understanding where the Eagles are, where they fell short, and where they want to go next. And that journey is only starting. And staying on that path, the most important thing for the Eagles right now is clarity. Not noise, not speculation, not emotional reactions, but a clear understanding of who they are and who they need to become. When Roseman talks about responsibility, he's talking about more than contracts and draft picks. He's talking about shaping the identity of the team for the next phase. The Eagles already know they can win. They've already proven they can compete at the highest level. The real challenge is making sure that standard never slips, even when seasons don't end the way Philadelphia expects. That's why this offseason feels different from a normal reset. This isn't a team searching for relevance. This is a team protecting excellence. Every evaluation inside the building is focused on one simple idea. Does this help us get closer to confetti? If the answer is no, it doesn't matter how comfortable it feels. It has to be questioned. That applies to coaching, preparation, execution, and long-term planning. The Eagles are attacking the offseason with that filter. The offensive coordinator change fits perfectly into that philosophy. Sirianni isn't pretending that continuity alone equals success. He's saying growth matters more than familiarity. The NFL doesn't wait for anyone. Defenses adjust, schemes evolve, and offenses that don't adapt get exposed. By opening the door to new leadership on offense, Philadelphia is signaling that they want ideas that challenge what already exists. Not erase the foundation, but sharpen it. At the same time, Roseman's balancing act becomes even more important. Keeping a championship window open means being aggressive without being reckless. It means understanding that some faces won't be back, not because they failed, but because success forces hard math in the salary cap world. When you win, players become valuable. When players become valuable, choices become painful. That's the business side of football that fans don't always see, but it's exactly where championships are protected or lost. And the Eagles are fully aware of that. They're not pretending the roster will stay the same. They're not pretending chemistry alone solves everything. They're planning succession, development, and opportunity. Who steps up when someone leaves? Who grows into a larger role? Who fits the next version of this team, not the last one? What also stands out is how Roseman frames disappointment, not as failure, but as information. Falling short becomes a lesson, not a scar. If confetti isn't falling, something can be better. Something can be sharper. Something can be cleaner. That mindset keeps the Eagles dangerous year after year. It's the reason Philadelphia doesn't live off past trophies, but uses them as a reminder of what the standard really is. And for the fans, this is where belief meets patience. The offseason doesn't deliver instant highlights, but it builds the story that defines the fall. Every hire, every contract decision, every internal adjustment is part of the same mission, making the Eagles harder to defend, harder to outwork, and harder to eliminate in January. So as this offseason continues to unfold, remember, what you're watching isn't just transactions, it's construction. It's the Eagles shaping the next version of themselves, driven by urgency, accountability, and a refusal to accept anything short of championship football. And digging even deeper into what's happening inside the NovaCare complex, you can feel that this offseason is being treated like a checkpoint, not a pause. The Eagles aren't sitting back and saying, "We were close." They're asking, "Why weren't we closer?" That's a big difference. Teams that survive in the NFL are honest with themselves, and everything Roseman and Sirianni said points to an organization that refuses to lie about its own level. When Roseman talks about the offseason setting the tone, he's talking about discipline. The work done now shows up in September, October, and especially January. Every decision creates momentum either forward or backward. That's why there's an urgency in the building even though games aren't being played. The Eagles know that improvement doesn't start in training camp. It starts in meeting rooms, evaluation sessions, and uncomfortable conversations about what worked and what didn't. And that's where the self-correct culture becomes powerful. It's easy to blame a season on one moment, one game, or one unit. Philadelphia doesn't operate that way. The approach is collective responsibility. Everyone looks inward. Coaches examine teaching methods. Executives examine roster construction. The organization examines how preparation translates on Sundays. That's how you avoid repeating the same story with different chapters. The offensive change is still the loudest signal of that approach. By moving on from Kevin Patullo, the Eagles are admitting the offense needs a new push. Not because talent disappeared, but because the league keeps adapting. Defensive coordinators study tendencies. They hunt patterns. They erase comfort. If your offense doesn't stay ahead of that curve, you end up reacting instead of controlling. Sirianni wants someone who helps the Eagles dictate games, not chase them. And notice how careful the language is. Sirianni didn't promise a certain scheme. He didn't promise fireworks. He promised fit. He promised evolution. He promised that the Eagles will look for the best candidate, not just a familiar one. That tells fans this isn't about nostalgia. It's about function. What helps the Eagles win in the version of the NFL that exists right now? Roseman's side of the equation is just as demanding. Winning now while building for later is one of the hardest jobs in sports. You can't mortgage tomorrow, but you also can't waste today. The Eagles live in that tension every offseason. That's why asset management matters so much. Draft picks, contracts, and development aren't separate conversations. They're one connected system. Lose balance in one area and the whole structure tilts. And when Roseman says the Eagles would love to keep all their unrestricted free agents but can't, that's reality speaking. Success makes rosters fragile in a strange way. Players who help win championships earn attention, opportunity, and value. Philadelphia has to decide how to replace, reshape, and redirect without losing identity. That's not emotional work, that's strategic work. But strategy alone doesn't win in Philadelphia. Mentality does. Roseman's line about confetti isn't motivational fluff. It's the internal scoreboard. Division titles, records, and playoff appearances matter, but they aren't the finish line. The finish line is holding the Lombardi Trophy. Anything short becomes motivation, not comfort. That's why even after an NFC East title and an 11-7 season, the tone is disappointment mixed with hunger. They're grateful for winning, but frustrated by the ending. That combination is dangerous in a good way. It pushes organizations to sharpen instead of settle. So when fans look at this offseason, they shouldn't see silence as inactivity. They should see preparation. Interviews, evaluations, philosophical adjustments, and long-term planning are happening before any headline move ever hits the screen. The Eagles are building the story of 2026 quietly, carefully, and intentionally. This is how championship organizations behave when the season ends too early. They don't hide. They don't celebrate survival. They reset their standards and go back to work. And when you connect all of this, what really defines the Eagles right now is intention. Nothing feels accidental. Nothing feels rushed. Everything is built around protecting a championship